This was the man who earned the most money I had ever seen. He made $200 million for each hole he drilled. He set up a timer program and then inserted a special drilling device into the oil pipeline. As the drilling progressed, the man quickly poured lubricant into the hole, which greatly alarmed his employer. When he reached the last millimeter, he stopped what he was doing. The sudden pause frustrated the employer. Why stop before finishing? Most people did not realize that this was the man's brilliance. He deliberately left just 1 millimeter, allowing the pressure in the pipeline to adjust itself, which would prevent the oil from igniting. And just seconds later, the steady flow of oil entered the employer's pipeline, taking only 3 minutes. The reward for both parties came easily. The man's name was Awe, a famous driller in the industry. He stole crude oil from his employer's oil company. Although the value was extremely high, many were still hunting for him, giving him financial freedom from a young age. Soon, Wei gained another daring employer, Boss Park, from an oil extraction group. This was no ordinary small-scale competition. Boss Park asked Wei to drill 2 holes, intending to steal $50 billion worth of crude oil. Wei did not want any trouble, as there were air pressure detection devices installed in the pipeline. A large loss of crude oil could attract the attention of the oil company, and transportation was also an issue. Boss Park said he would handle these problems himself. Then he pointed to a nearby mountain where an abandoned factory stood. The water tanks inside could be used to store the oil. Boss Park worried that Wei might refuse, so he offered $2 billion directly. With such a generous offer, Wei could not say no. To complete the mission, Boss Park rented a hotel near the pipeline and assigned 4 assistants to Wei. Among them were Curly, head of the steel market, Mr. Law, Wang, an expert in pipelines, a strong man, and Xiaomei, responsible for the site. After everyone introduced themselves, a siren sounded above me immediately. Wei was slightly startled. It turned out this was a signal sent by Xiaomei. Upon hearing the siren, everyone had to stop what they were doing to comply with the process. Then they arrived at the T-boiler room in the basement. Wei followed the designated floor plan. The pipeline's position had been determined. Just drilling through the wall would reach it. Drill another 30 meters, and the oil pipeline would be reached. The drilling mission was carried out by no one other than the strong man. He held the drill in his hands, making intense decisions while Wei adjusted his drilling equipment. However, now 2 holes had to be drilled, and the existing equipment was not up to standard. Fatty, an expert in underground drilling, led the way. The underground passage was 10 meters long and took 3 days to drill. As of a week had passed, they could complete the mission, but the cable was blocked by hard rock. This disrupted the entire plan. Now, not only was time lost, but there was uncertainty about encountering more rock. The strong man suggested using a rock drill. Although it would be noisy and attract the police, at this point, they could give it a try. It happened that I encountered police officers at that moment. Xiaomei quietly triggered the siren unexpectedly. They inadvertently cut the power during construction. The temporary siren had no sound, but the police could hear noises from underground, so I decided to check. Xiaomei used the intercom to communicate quickly, and fortunately, Wei managed to transport the rock successfully. When I heard Xiaomei's voice, he suddenly became courageous, and something bad happened. When the police discovered the basement, Wei and Lao Wang quickly repaired the pipeline in this way, successfully eliminating their opposition. The strong man suspected the air condition was blocking the hole, but found no abnormalities. The police warned them that nighttime construction was prohibited, then withdrew. Afterward, Xiaomei connected the wires for the siren. By now, the project was halfway complete. They had received part of their payment from Boss Park, while the rest of the reward involved a large oil tanker awaiting the underground passage that still needed drilling. The oil could be transported as far as possible. But another unexpected event occurred. The previous oil theft case had not been resolved, and the police began investigating near the pipeline using metal detectors. Before long, they discovered an anomaly. Fortunately, Xiaomei observed this through the CCTV. The police started to drill the pipeline, and she immediately triggered the siren to alert the team. Although 4 people managed to escape, Wei realized that the watch his mother had left behind was missing, so he rushed back to the underground passage to search. By coincidence, an excavator damaged a natural gas pipeline. Wei inhaled the gas accidentally and collapsed at the scene. At that moment, Lao Wang risked his life to help him. The police mistook the gas pipe for a metal source. Luckily, the drilling stopped. Wei recovered quickly after treatment. I thought it was just a minor incident. That night, Boss Park arrived. He believed the police had been distracted by something trivial, so he offered to pay half the wages. Now, Wei refused to continue. He immediately removed the fire suppression equipment and planned a counterattack with his team. But how could Boss Park easily let them go? Lao Wang stepped forward to protect everyone. He was shot and left with just a box lunch. The sound of the gun alerted nearby police. Boss Park quickly fled with his men. Wei and his team seized the chaos as an opportunity to escape. Lao Wang's death enraged Wei, and he vowed revenge. That night, he began planning a meeting with Boss Park, proposing to continue stealing oil, but this time demanding a reward of $5 billion. Boss Park, however, knew Wei's abilities well, so I could predict his actions in advance. Then the matter was discussed, but Wei and the others did not continue drilling the underground passage. It turned out that Lao Wang had accidentally discovered that all the major pipelines in the city were connected. By simply opening this point, the location of the oil pipelines could be easily determined. As a result, many people immediately started drilling the walls. Before long, a channel was opened. Not only was there an oil pipeline inside, but also a water pipeline from the abandoned factory. By drilling holes in both pipes and connecting them, oil could be transferred into the factory's water stock. Once everything was ready, Curly was the first to connect the cover plate on the oil pipeline. Xiao Mei secretly entered the oil company and sent misleading instructions. Even though the oil pressure dropped immediately, they would not detect anything unusual. Finally, it was Wei's turn. He inserted a special brain device into the control panel. This was the first time he had used such a complex neural device, so it appeared extremely difficult. He exerted all his strength, causing the pipeline to shift unpredictably. The high-pressure airflow pushed Wei away instantly. Fortunately, Curly closed the panel just in time, preventing an oil leak. But Wei was exhausted. The second channel could only be secured with tape. The water pipe had been abandoned long ago, so air pressure was no longer a concern. Before long, Curly traced the pipeline, and after connecting the control panel, oil immediately flowed into the storage tank. Seeing the oil flow, Boss Park became excited. But in the next second, Wei shut the control panel and forced him to pay the reward quickly. Boss Park accepted on the ground, but secretly killed his own men. Eventually, everyone was captured. Boss Park had planted explosives near the oil pipeline, planning to steal oil secretly. The confusing explosion, along with the oil Wei had amassed earlier in the month, caused the pipeline to blow up. As a result, the price of oil in their hands could rise several times over. Everyone now understood Boss Park's true intention. After Boss Park left, Wei asked Curly to open the detonation device. Enduring great pain, he ignited the wires, then removed the bomb and ran away like a dog. When Boss Park activated his detonator, the bomb in Wei's hands went off immediately. At this point, he no longer cared about the danger. He used all his strength to throw it as far as possible. Fortunately, the explosion did not affect the oil pipeline. Wei and the others, including Boss Park, were arrested by the police upon arrival. It was assumed that many people had attempted to correct their mistakes. In the end, they only had to wait for 2 years. The movie ends here.